Hello, I went to Boesner today in Innsbruck, and as promised in my little reel I made for Boesner, some of you might not have seen that. Just to give a little bit of context, I live in Innsbruck and Boesner, a very big art supply shop, just opened, I think about 2 weeks ago, maybe maximum, not that long ago. Until now, there's been tons of little mom and pop shops around, which have been lovely regional art shops. However, I would classify them more as craft shops, if that makes sense. I do linoprinting, that's my main focus. I also do fine line illustrations, but printmaking and block printmaking, those are my points of interest. And many of these shops, the three that I can think of, now two sadly, they focus more on offering a large variety of supplies and not a lot of specialty supplies. So the day that Boesner opened, I went to the opening, and what do you know, they actually have a really good selection of different art supplies, and not just art supplies, linoprinting in particular. And as someone who typically always had to order stuff online, I was overjoyed. I wanted to go check it out and see what was up, see what they offered, see if it was worth going, and it absolutely was. I did actually find a specialty item that I had been contemplating ordering online. It's a little oil. This oil is an oil I use for my oil stones that I use to sharpen my file cutters. And I was going to have to order them online and pay a bunch of shipping, and I always feel a bit bad when I order stuff online. So it was great when I went in, and yes, they only had 3 of them, but they had them, which was actually a shock after typically being told, no, they don't carry that, and no, they don't supply that, and no, there's not enough of a demand for that. So, as someone who runs linoprinting workshops in Innsbruck, I decided I would go back today and see what I could find material-wise for beginners and see what I could find in general. So different products, maybe different inks that I haven't tried out before. Asterisk, I did not buy any lino cutters. I will explain that a little bit later. More clearly, I will show you what they carry because I already have sets of that. Those are the sets that I use in my workshops. Before we start this little vlog, just a disclaimer, these are all my personal opinions. If there are other printmakers out there who disagree with my opinion, please feel free to comment it. I'm always really happy to learn. Maybe I'm using some of the things wrong, but some of these are just like personal taste and results may vary. And without further ado, let's get going. Right, let's see. I didn't get a lot, but art supplies adds up quickly cost-wise, so I had to really reel myself in. Main things I wanted to test are the blocks, because I'm very particular about my blocks. I've been using a gummy rubber block for a while now. I saw this one, I like the blue color. So we'll see what the difference is. So I got that one, and I got this white one. I can't really tell the difference between these two. This one's a little bit thicker, so I'm not really sure. That's what we're going to try out today. I got I also got a normal lino sheet. This one this is just a normal hard lino sheet. I just want to test it out. I don't use hard lino super often, but I just at least wanted to see the quality of it. It just seems like normal lino though, so I'm not expecting any surprises. Cost-wise, just that we can keep a counter going. Little one is only $2.30. Lino is typically quite cheap, so that's not so bad. Little one was $3.40, so not so bad. The slightly bigger one was $9.75, so it was $8.98, $9.75, $3.40. For comparison, what I've been using up until now, this is just a small sheet of it. This is half a block. I pay about €2 for an A5 sheet of this. So I am interested to see if there's a difference. This can be a little bit fussy to work with sometimes if you're trying to do finer detail, so I'm wondering if this is a little bit harder than it. It is a little bit thicker, so it's harder to cut through, which I understand, but we shall see. Got a big ol' sketchbook from them. I like using books like this for a lot of my workshops. This ran me about $8.75, but that's 250 sheets. I quite like it. It is a hefty boy, correctly named Le Grand Bloc. This is their brand of linoprinting ink. I'm really interested to see how this is. Water-based printmaking ink can be quite fussy a lot of the time. And I'm very, 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 very particular about things that I use, especially for my workshops, because I want people to have a fun time and not a hard time. These were relatively inexpensive, I would say. These only cost about €4 a tube so that's 100 milliliters. I'm interested to see how that is. And then I also got it from Schminke, very well-known brand. This is also water-based ink. That's a tiny little tube, but I'm hoping that it has a really good opacity to it. That ran me, that tiny little tube of 35 milliliters, $7.55. So I'm hoping that it acts maybe a little bit more like oil-based ink, as in it doesn't dry up too quickly and waste the product. That's my main issue with water-based printmaking, although it's great because you can take it home the same day. It dries quickly. That's also the downside of it, that it dries so quickly. I already had one of these, but I wanted to try a different size. I already know what to expect from it. I like it. I really like their in-house brand brayers. I think they're quite useful. I like the stand that it has. I always look out for that they have a little stand that you can rest it so it doesn't get a little flat spot on the bottom. This is actually the reason I decided to give these a try. I don't usually try in-shop brand names, I guess, because I usually find them to have a lower quality, but since they make this quite well, I'm hoping that this is also quite good. For comparison, I typically use AMI, water-based inks for my linoprinting, and I've really enjoyed using it so far. It doesn't dry as quickly as the Marabou one. This one I find, first of all, I find that it stinks quite strongly. Yeah, it's got like a weird, I don't know what the smell is, but I really don't like it. It gives me a headache. And it dries so quickly, like too quickly to even hardly work with, I find. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but like, I want it to work when I open it. So these are the comparison bases. I have already prepared a few drawings on transfer paper. I thought I could just compare it by using different inks and different blocks for each one. I am going to use my original blocks as well so that we have something to compare it to see if it's worth it in comparison. This is my handy dandy beginner set. I have sharpened it. It's ABIG. I always recommend this to beginners. It's got a nice palm feel. You can also use your speedball cutting tools. I just got this one extremely cheap. Boesner also sells the replacement heads to this, which is very nice. That was a very nice touch. And yeah, I'll be using this today, I think, just that it's a realistic comparison. I do have my file instruments as well. But again, this is another thing I don't recommend that you go out and buy if you're just starting out. These run about 22 to 25 a pop, and they're easy to mess up if you sharpen them wrong with the wrong instruments. So we're going to use the beginner stuff like a lot of people are, and hopefully some of these can impress me today. Right, so let's start. These are the 3 plates that we're comparing, just one more time. Here are my little designs that I've cut out and put on top. This very first one is the typical one from Solstern Gren. Beautiful transfer, easy, nothing wrong, smooth carving, as I would expect from this type of block. Not crumbly, not a whole lot to say about this one other than it worked as expected. The next one is the white Factus sheet. It immediately just was very dusty, left residue in my hands. I did not like that, had a very strange texture to it. The transfer also didn't go nearly as smoothly. Kind of disappointed with that. It was like, again, just dusty on top. And then while I was carving it, it just left a bunch of crumbs everywhere. This was an extremely messy one. Blue one worked very similar to the Solstern Gren one, was perhaps a little bit stiffer, took the transfer beautifully, didn't have any strange dust on it. 10 out of 10, would use again. Here you can see them up close for comparison. The smooth edges on the first one, and then the smoothish edges on the blue one. Mind you, I use the same tools for all of these, so the difference was definitely in the material. And then the last one, again, crumbly, and yeah, I was worried about how this one would hold up with the inking, if I'm being honest. Just another preview of the inks that we're using, so Marabou, AMI, Boesner, and Schminke. And then onto the inking, I was looking out for a few things in here. How watery it was. Marabou, I knew I would need a little bit more than any other one. It definitely rolled out like streaky, as you can see. And you can also see throughout the video how it dries so quickly. I didn't get great print results with this one either, and I kept on having to put even more product on in between. I did a few takes and I tried giving it a fair go. It was fine. If it's the only thing that you have, go for it. Overall, just not my favorite. Did clean up just fine. They all did. They all should. I mean, they're water-based. I definitely tested the white Factus foamy one a lot, and it did harden up a little bit more after I used the ink on it, so that's a plus, I guess. Next, I moved on to the AMI, used a little bit less, just a dollop. It wasn't as, I don't really know how else to describe it, but like watery when I poured it out. And again, it didn't dry as fast. Similar print quality, like it's fine. It worked quite well. I didn't have to take as much extra product as I did with the Marabou ink. So yeah, that's good. And again, so this white Factus one, actually with each round of inking, the material seemed to harden up more, and it did withstand a lot more pressure than I expected. I did do a test at the end of each one to see like how quickly I could make the ink dry out, just so you can see the texture when it dries. And one thing about Marabou that I didn't add on before was that it turns like grainy at the end, which is weird. Anyways, here's our pricey boy, Schminke. High expectations for this one. Took very little because I'm not made out of money. It did handle a lot more like an oil ink, which was very nice. It had a very smooth texture. It was good. Went right on without any issues either. You do see it like pulling back a little bit from the sheet on the right hand side. I think that's because I had a bit of water left on my brayer, so just ignore that. The coverage was similar to that of the other ones. I don't think I actually used the Baron enough on the first print because the next ones were actually slightly darker. Last one, Boesner, handled very similarly to the Marabou one. Good coverage, pulled some good prints with this one. I didn't have to take tons. I did take more than I did with Schminke. I think it just sort of prepared for that. And throughout the course of this set, I did take a break in between and it did not dry up at all. So that's a really good sign for me. Like yes, you do want the water-based ones to dry at some point, but this one did not dry too quickly to where I had a little bit of extra product left over at the very end. And as you can see, the prints are very similar. Like here's a quick overview shot of all of the prints I pulled. Some of them are a little bit worse off because I didn't spend long enough on them. But overall, very similar, I would say. And finally done. It took a while. And honestly, the results, they weren't really shocking. I wasn't that surprised. I sort of knew what to expect. I was surprised about the store brand. Boesner performed a lot better than I expected for it being that cheap. Went through each one, and I tried transferring the pencil onto it, as I typically do, just by rubbing it on. And then I also checked the texture of it, a little bit of the flexibility, and how easy/nice it was to carve. I mainly tried the Factus block, both the blue and the white one, and I compared it to the one that I use from Solster and Gren. I didn't actually see a huge difference in all of them. They all worked almost the same, except for the white Factus block. Now, while carving with it, I assumed it was just how the block was made. It felt a little bit like foam. It crumbled, and I didn't really enjoy it. It left like a dusty, powdery substance on my fingers. I just assumed it was made for children, so it was an easy carve. I wasn't sure, but I was a little bit confused about it, so I researched it further, and it seems like that block in particular might have either been too old or not properly mixed. I'm going to ask in shop in the next couple days, I think, to see if I can maybe get my hands on another one, a replacement block, and run a quick test again. Because when I wetted it with water, it actually did firm up a bit, and it wasn't as crumbly anymore. For durability, I can't really say. They're all soft cut blocks, which means they won't probably have the same longevity as a normal lino sheet, so hard lino. But again, I always recommend that beginners start off with easy carve, easy cut, rubber blocks, because it's easier. And your beginner tools aren't really always made or sharp enough to cut through the lino. For lino, you do want a really sharp, good tool. I have used ABIG for my harder lino, but only after I sharpened it at home. So if you start getting into lino, I do suggest you also learn how to sharpen it. So that's the blocks. Like I said, there's just a price difference. It's a shame that the white Factus block seemed to be defective, because I would have loved to have a proper sheet for the comparison. But that's just how it is as well. I think it's good to know. So I guess as a recommendation, if you're in shop or if you're in the store, go ahead and buy the blue one. It's not that expensive and they have different sizes, so that's quite useful. It does come in a larger variety of sizes than the Solstrengren rubber sheets. But like I said, not a huge difference that I can see for now. Maybe I'll check in again in about a year to see if they've aged differently or poorly, because that would be very interesting to see. As for the inks, okay, so here I do have a different opinion. Really quick, I didn't mention Esde or however you pronounce that. I personally don't like the soft cut blocks from Esde. I've tried them before. I find them to be too shiny and too hard to actually easily transfer pencil onto. They are more similar to lino cutting, so if you want to try a harder surface, sure, go for it. I'm just not a huge fan. At that point, I'd rather just be carving on lino. As for the Speedball Easy Carve, I did try them out a couple years back. I'd like to try them out again and maybe run this experiment one more time with them included. From what I can remember, they were also quite easy, like as they say, easy carve. They were nice. It was like carving eraser. That's how most of these are. It's like carving an eraser. So there, I don't really think you can go wrong. I think soft cut is just a nice starting point for anyone. Colors. Here's where I'm getting a little bit picky. So I tried out 2 of the inks I already use, AMI and Marabou. And I compared those to Schminke and the name brand in-store created ink from Boesner. I compared all 4, and I used them on each of the blocks to give them a fair run. And I didn't really look at coverage too much because some of them I did print out faster, so you're always going to get a bad print. I don't hold that against any color. But the first one that's absolutely out of the running is Marabou. It stinks. I bought a huge amount of it about a year ago because I was thinking I would use them at my workshops. I run lino cutting workshops in Innsbruck. Marabou one dried out extremely quickly, and it got like granular very quickly, I feel like. And it also needed a bit more ink than the other ones to achieve the same amount of coverage, I feel like, but you also had to work extremely quickly in comparison. No recommendation. Boo. Bye. If somebody has an idea on how I can make it work better, go for it. But honestly, if they all smell like that, I'm good. So on the list, AMI. AMI is just a good price for me. Like, you get quite a bit of the ink for your money. It has always worked well. Water-based, so it does dry quickly. It was easy to clean up. They all are, to be honest. I don't really have a lot of negative to say. I needed a little bit less of it to achieve similar results as Marabou, and it just felt a little bit easier to work with. It wasn't like, it wasn't nearly as watery as Marabou. Schminke was by far the most expensive one. That was pricey. I got about 35 milliliters of ink, so like not much. For €7.55. So if you're doing a lot of printing, it is going to run out quickly. Now, Schminke is a good brand. It's a good label. I liked how oily it behaved even for a water-based ink. I did like that. However, I also still didn't see a huge difference in the blackness of the ink or the opacity and usage. Maybe, yes, I used a little bit less than the other. It did not dry out as much as quickly as the Marabou one. Honestly, none of them did. I'm going to stop hating on Marabou in a second, but just for a fair comparison, yeah, none of the other ones dried out nearly as fast as the Marabou one. And weirdly enough, Schminke was the easiest to wash up. I don't really know exactly why. Maybe because it is a higher quality, but like the moment water hit it, it just went... It just like cleaned up really quickly. But yeah, so that's the Schminke one. It's nice if you want a rich color and a nicer, smoother, buttery feel, go for it, but don't think it's in my beginner starter list. I don't really see the reason to buy it, if I'm being honest, because at that point, if you're already spending that much on ink for linoprinting, it seems that you're a little bit more invested, and you might as well just go with an oil-based ink at that point. Last one, the Boesner brand. Yeah, honestly, surprisingly impressed with it. It worked a lot better than I expected. I have a bad experience with most like in-store brands, but for the cost, especially, I used about as much of it as I did with the AMI. So yeah, pretty worth it, honestly. It worked well, it cleaned up well, it didn't dry super fast. Yeah, they had a good variety of colors for the Boesner one as well. I also picked up a magenta color of it, which I'll try out as well in the future. But yeah, honestly, for its price, absolutely go for it. Yeah, that one is just as good as AMI. I would say those two interchangeable. Put those two at the top of my shopping list. The one that I didn't get to try out, which they didn't have in store sadly, was Speedball. I would love to try out the Speedball aqua or water-based inks. I swear by the fabric block printing inks from Speedball, so I'm curious to see how the water-based inks from them hold up in comparison. So I can't really say yay or nay on that one yet, but maybe in a future video. Let's see. So yes, top favorites then. I would still recommend Silstrengren for the blocks, if I'm being honest, if you want a bang for your buck. I don't really know how they make those blocks. I don't really know why they're so much cheaper. All I know is that they behave in the exact same manner. I think the blue Factus sheets also work really, really well. I think you could definitely spend a couple years more on those ones. The only difference I immediately noticed was that the Factus was a bit thicker, so it's a little bit more difficult to accidentally puncture a hole through it. That's the main difference that I noticed. So you can't go wrong with those two. We're going to hold off on my opinion on the white Factus block until I can see what's up with that, because block be gritty. For the inks, yeah, AMI or Boesner, in-house brand. Great, go for it. Cheap. There's no need to spend a lot in the beginning on a new hobby. Honestly, you really don't need to. Please don't go bankrupt just trying out something that should be fun. If you ever need to upgrade your supplies, there's obviously really cool upgrades like the file lino cutters, which run about 22-25 euros a pop. You can upgrade your ink to either Cranfield Calico or to the professional inks from Speedball. But in the beginning, don't spend a lot. Said I did go into the shop just to look around after my last introduction video, and you can get pretty well set up there. For paper, I always recommend just a thin normal sketchbook paper for the trial prints. If you want a slightly nicer paper, they also have that. They had aisles and aisles and aisles of paper. For the rollers, like the one that I have right here, this is from Boesner, and I quite like it. It's easy to clean. It doesn't have any wooden handle that will get too wet or something and break off. It's a very simple little guy and also not expensive. For ink palettes, I didn't really see anything there that I would say, yeah, go for it. But honestly, you can just use like a vinyl sheet. That's what I use. That's meant for embossing. They don't cost very much. I might have to look again at Boesner. I think that's all you really need. But yeah, that's my summary of the whole shopping haul that I did in the whole experiment. If you've watched the whole thing, thank you for sticking around. If not, and you just skip to the end, great. I do the same thing sometimes, so it's absolutely fine. And I look forward to bringing more of these little silly experiments to you and having an excuse to go buy art supplies and compare the things myself. For me, it was really a lot of fun to go in and just be like, yep, I'll try this and I'll try this and I'll try this. I think it's good to push the boundaries of what you've used before and see if there might be other better stuff out there. Yeah, thanks for sticking around and looking forward to bringing more in the future. With that, have a good day.